We'll start with a video. Data, data, and more data. My commit to each and every one of you today is by the end of my talk, the word data and its impact will surely stick. Hello, Gdańsk. Cześć, Gdańsk. Namaste, Gdańsk. My name is Kirti Surya, and I'm proud and delighted to be here today to speak about what has been my passion and my life for the last 2 decades, Intel. I'm part of the communications business within the larger data center group at Intel, and it's really exciting because today there is such a need to cater to scalability needs that would support the increasing data workloads. And network connectivity is at a major inflection point, given the massive workloads that we need to meet. We need to also keep in mind that network connectivity has to be looked at differently in terms of how networks are architected, operated, and deployed. Outside of work, I'm a proud daughter of parents who still guide me through everyday life, a sister to a brother who's been my mentor and shining guide throughout, a wife to a very loving and supportive husband, and a mother of 2 beautiful children who, along with their tons of teenage peers, are contributing to this huge data explosion, given that they're part of a generation that doesn't know life without data. So, in a sense, I do pretty much the same thing at work as I do at home. At home, I'm connecting the dots, given that I'm part of a tight-knit family. And at work, I'm working on solutions that cater to the next generation of communications, networking, and connectivity. People who've known me for years know that I live by my 3P passion, or 3P mantra, which is people, passion, and perspectives. And what that means is, whether it's my enjoying my work every day, given that I'm passionate about exactly what Intel is working toward and is focused on, or whether I'm building teams with people who care about our customers' perspectives and are passionate to meet their needs. So you just saw in the beginning that we're celebrating Intel's 50th anniversary this year. 5 decades. At a conference of this nature, where we're seeing a lot of startups, a key thing to keep in mind is, even though Intel's been around for 5 decades, it really is like a bunch of startups within this larger company, a very progressive company, constantly looking at how to meet the different needs of the markets. So if you observe the 5 decades, you'll see a pattern of how every decade has defined a change and tweak to meet those needs. The 60s, 1968, was when Intel was born. Our co-founders, Robert Noyce and Gordon Moore, believed that they could come up with a more reliable, less expensive memory based on semiconductor technology. As Robert Noyce said, back then, semiconductor memory was going at about $1 a bit, and core memory at about a penny a bit. And he said, well, all we need to do is find a way to reduce cost by a factor about 100, and we'll win these markets. It's all about perspective, right? And we all have heard of the Moore's Law. So given that Intel was being led by such legendary visionaries, we were off to a great start, and this kicked off a technological innovation. 1970s was a lot about change, 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 good change in terms of growth. Growth in the people, growth in facilities, growth in technology, growth in market segments. A lot of products, processes were developed, creating a need and a venue for a lot more industries. The 80s came along, and that's when we switched our focus from memory to processors. You see how we're starting to cater, right? This was also when, for those of you who may know, the bunny people came into existence, which symbolized the suits worn in the clean rooms of the factories, but also the fun, rich audio and rich video experiences that our media technology introduced into computers. And the Pentium brand was born. The 90s was when we built more upon our processors. That was primarily what we were working on for microprocessors, for desktops. But toward the end, we started to venture into other areas: storage, networking products. And that's when we said, we need to start looking at things from building blocks. So the silicon building block strategy came into play. And then came the 2000s, the transition to the digital era. With the 90s kicking off the internet, Intel started focusing on, here's what's needed to meet this market and the e-commerce industry. Along with that came a lot of innovation in the networking space, in the storage space, and more of those building blocks being co-optimized to work together. And of course, as you know, in 2018, which is this year, we entered the Guinness Book of World Records flying the maximum number of simultaneous drones at the Winter Olympics. And now the focus is data. So as proud as we are of looking back at our 50 years, we're really excited for what the future holds. As Intel's co-founder, Rob Noyce, said, don't be encumbered by history. Go off and do something wonderful. So there we are, looking ahead. Let's see how this inspiring company that I have been able to call home for so many years cares about its customers and the community at large. How data is changing what we need to focus on going into the future, and how Intel is looking at the challenges and opportunities that come with these data needs and responding to it. For those who might not be aware, here's a time to pause and realize that Intel is more than a hardware company. It is a solutions company. We're fortunate to be one of the few semiconductor companies that is able to do products, process development, manufacturing, packaging, and software all under one roof. And that gives us the advantage to go forward and address our data and networking needs going forward, along with many others. Now comes today and the fun things ahead of us. Here are some of the areas that we focus on. Autonomous driving. Intel and Mobileye design autonomous driving solutions with a focus on safety and scalability. We're leading the industry in camera sensing technology, crowdsourced mapping, mathematical models for safety, and compute leadership. In the 5G space, we're working with partners all over the world to define and deliver on 5G standards and solutions, and working along the network, the cloud, and the client to deliver this 5G dream. AI, we're committed to working on products that meet the performance need and drive responsible AI development. And in the virtual world space, it's all about massive data and how to move these. And we're working with partners on that as well.
5G. It's been called the technology of tomorrow. But what is it exactly? It's often described as just the next step in the pursuit of an ever faster network. But in reality, 5G is much, much more. It's an entirely new technological foundation that promises to enable the next great wave of life-changing digital advancements. From the safety and environmental benefits of autonomous driving, to dramatic breakthroughs in artificial intelligence via machine learning, and a whole new era in healthcare, to a smart and connected revolution that will transform agriculture, cities, and our individual homes, even virtual and augmented reality. Every one of these promising new breakthroughs will be built on the common foundation of 5G, requiring a broad range of sophisticated, seamless solutions that work together, end to end, and that only one company can provide.
And remember, behind the scenes for all of this is data collection, data processing, data analysis, and data movement. Projections are that by 2021, the average person will generate about 1.5 gigabytes of data, about twice what we do today. Autonomous vehicles will generate 2,500 times that of the average person, 4 terabytes. A smart factory, 1 petabyte. What does that mean? Equivalent to about 700,000 people's worth. So today, data is the foundation of innovation. The scenes seem familiar to any of you? It is to me. That's how my family looks. Except in my family, we also have a dog who's trying very hard to find a device that he can play with. Message here really is, families are more connected than ever before today. And with advanced and extended connectivity, this is more doable. But extended connectivity means more reliable and scalable networks. Which is what we should focus on: scalability of networks and handling of massive movement of data. This will allow what is today foundational in terms of how families fundamentally connect with each other today. They're always connected. Families are always connected. But that means providing the background and infrastructure for it. Take a moment to absorb the information behind me on the screen. 90% of data today was generated in just the last 2 years. Not 2 decades, 2 years. We're fortunate to be one of the 7,500 plus attendees today at the Infoshare conference. But what does that mean? Just in this very venue, we are adding to a spike in data. So the way we thought of collecting, processing, analyzing, and storing data needs to scale. Data is the new oil. So how does Intel's connectivity portfolio make this happen? Intel's connectivity group has 3 segments that are looking at this. One is the Ethernet space. Leaders for the last 30 years. 2, silicon photonics. And we'll get to that in a moment. And 3 are omnipath architecture, which a recent example of which is the Barcelona Supercomputing Center, catering to HPC needs. It's all about rack and data center integration in that space. Bottom line, we and the industry at large are going through a major change in the networking space. 3 inflection points: critical new workloads, think AI, AR, VR, deep learning, storage workloads, networking workloads, database workloads that are enabling these foundational workloads. Cloud scale, the big only gets bigger. And extensive offloads. Data says that by 2021, more than 95% of data will reside in the cloud. What does that mean? That CSPs are looking to offload both infrastructure and applications. Think distributed intelligence. So again, Intel's leadership for 30 years in this space. We were the primary co-authors of the Ethernet spec, along with Xerox and DEC. And all those years ago was when our first controller was launched. And since then, you can see the numbers of how many ports of Intel's Ethernet exist today. Silicon photonics. For those who haven't heard, this is a combination of the 2 most innovative inventions of the 20th century: integrated circuits and semiconductor lasers. Moving data onto the optical fibers, which allow for more extendability, scalability, bandwidth, and high density, is key for tomorrow's world. And we have the unique advantage of having technology that integrates this into switches, networking interfaces, and beyond. So circling back to why this is important today to Gdańsk. As you see behind me, just from the pictures, Intel is a multicultural, multi-geographical company that thrives on the diversity of thought across cultures and geographies that come to the table. Gdańsk is a key site for us in terms of the networking space. We're already at 2,000 employees and growing rapidly over the next few months to years. We hire the best, provide the best infrastructure and technology to work with, and then make sure that our employees are ready to face the needs of the future, and in this case, data and networking. Let's see what opportunities lie ahead. As we like to say, if it's smart and connected, it's best with Intel. So I want to say today, if you're smart and want to stay connected, join us in fulfilling our dreams to provide the best experiences and touching lives through technological innovations. Dziękuję. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Kirti Surya.